The views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect those of the PFC Entertainment Network or any of the affiliates that make this show possible.
This is the Pure Fury Creations Entertainment Network.
And we welcome you to Ball Game, live on the PFC Entertainment Network. Along with Vinny, I am Jason. We appreciate you tuning in here this week. We have a lot to talk about, and we're going to get into a very interesting conversation from a perspective, Vinny, that I don't think gets enough spotlight. And in our conversation before we came on the air here, I didn't realize that your perspective is going to be a very unique one, and we're going to talk about that more later on in the program. A lot of MLB headlines this week on the program, and if you want to be a part of the show, I'm going to post the link here just in just a moment. On the Facebook feed, you'll probably see it. I'm going to do it over on YouTube as well. You click that link, it brings you into the virtual waiting room, and I get the notification, hit the button, boom, you're on the show with us. Before we get to all that, Vinny, always a pleasure, man. I seen you a couple of days ago on the Sports Reel podcast, which you see live every Tuesday here on the PFC Network. Good to see you, man. How's things?
Not bad. Things are okay, actually seeing a little signs of summer out there. A little bit warmer than 50 degrees, but no, man, I've been great just watching, a ton of baseball and just trying to suck it all in while we can because, as you know, it's a long season, but it's short also. It goes so damn fast, so damn quick.
Crazy to think that, I'm going to say this number, and the casual fan will be like, well, goddamn, that's a lot. But there's only 100 games left of this season. We're a quarter of a way through this thing already. And it seems like it has, and while there hasn't been, in my estimation, I mean, aside from the attention that we pay to our local favorites, you being a Mets fan, I, of course, with the Tigers, there really hasn't been an over-the-top headline or breakout story that has really captivated the entire sport and gained the attention of non-fans in the media. But you look at it right now, and it's like, wow, we only have 100 games left. Our teams are where they are right now, respectfully. And it's like, this is not how I envisioned the season going at this point. What do you think, in your estimation, Vinny, has been the biggest surprise at this point of the season?
Well, I would say the small market teams at this point are making more noise this year, I think, than any other year. The Reds, the Pirates, right? Teams like that are showing signs of promise, of breaking out of their so-called slump for their 20 years or with this and that. You're starting to see the younger players that we talked about last time coming up through the system, which is good. 19, 20 years old, they're getting younger and younger. But I'm noticing the small market teams starting to kind of level off, which is a big FU to the big market teams, because a lot of them do have better records than them. We're talking about the Minnesotas, the Twins, the teams like that. or that are in first place. This is what you want to see. You don't want to be smothered with, the Yankees, the Mets, these big time teams, the Dodgers. After a while, it becomes dormant, and you're just like, okay, they're going to make the playoffs, this and that. And I always say, you are what you are going in to the All-Star game. After you come out, Jason, it is very hard for these teams. If somebody is 15 games back going into the All-Star break, what are the chances of them making the playoffs? Not that good. It's really not that good. And and that's an old saying, you are what you are at the All-Star break. And I still do believe that in some kind of context. I really do. And I am rooting for the small market teams, the Pittsburghs, the Minnesota, all that. The Cincinnati Reds they're a pretty damn good team. Francona's there, right, with the great manager. So you can't underestimate these guys. So I'm more focused on these small market teams, Jason, absolutely outperforming, I think. Obviously, you're not going to outperform the Dodgers. They got Hall of Famers on there. But as far as the Yankees, the Mets, big teams like that, I think it's good for the game. It's wonderful for the game because, you and I, we got both losing teams, right? We haven't won a World Series since '86, and okay, it is what it is. But these teams, some of these teams has not won a World Series at all, and they're, striving to make that first step to just at least to give themselves a chance in the playoffs to show themselves. And I really think this year is the year that you're going to have not one Cinderella team. You're going to have two or three. Definitely going to have two or three, Jason, because the way I look at it, the Cincinnati, I think they're going to be there in the end run. I think Pittsburgh, you shift over to the AL, Minnesota, right? There's a lot of teams on the brink of becoming, either taking over first place or a wild card team.
Very good point here. And as you were talking, I pulled up the standings, and this is why I find the National League's Central so intriguing right now. Because you look at what makes up the NL Central, with the exception of the Chicago Cubs, the other teams are not what you call major markets. You know what I mean? Like you have, I'll run it down. You got Milwaukee on the top right now, then St. Louis. You can make a St. Louis, it teeters on being a big market. You know what I mean? Like it varies if it all depending on how much they want to invest in their teams. And that goes, that's been across the board for a long time, right?
Right.
Then Pittsburgh. We have talked a lot about Pittsburgh here. The Cubs and then the Cincinnati Reds. And at this point, Vinny, the NL Central remains the strongest of the divisions in all of baseball. Every team is 500 or better. In fact, Cincinnati at this point is 6.5 games back, but they're at a 508. You know what I mean? They're 31-30. No other division can say that right now, and that's strong. Now, because of that, I think that's why people will dismiss the Brewers, especially when they start making postseason runs. It isn't until they're in the championship series that people are like, "Oh my God, the Milwaukee Brewers are a good team." What the hell took you so long? They've been here all season. You've just been paying so much attention to the Yankees and to the Dodgers, and these. I know those are the two we always use as the catalyst, but goddamn, they're the two money market teams in MLB right now, right? So I mean, how could you not? It's them and then everybody else. So that when you see a Milwaukee, when you see a Minnesota, you see the Chicago White Sox. That's my biggest shock right now, is this turnaround with the White Sox.
Yeah.
Like nobody's seen this coming. No. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games.
Wow.
They're sitting right behind, 2 games behind Cleveland, and they're starting to cool off. So like the AL Central's like, it's just a matter of time. The Tigers are now out of the basement. I mean, they're still way, they're 10 and a half games back, but it's like, okay, we're getting our pieces back, and they're starting to find that camaraderie again. And now there's like, I'm hoping as we build towards, like you said, All-Star break, we have some sort of momentum going into that, because God bless America, man. The Detroit Tigers need it, and I feel like in some regards the New York Mets do as well. Would that be fair?
Yeah, no, you're spot on. I mean, the White Sox, like really, like where'd they come from? Like you said, like it's good. It's good for the game, Jason, that these teams do that. Like you said, everybody goes at the end, oh my gosh, they're in it. Where'd they come from? Well, if you're paying attention, if you're a good sports fan, check the standings. Oh my God, right? Just check the standings. 2.5 games out, this game's out. But we know who's going to be there at the end. We know the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Brewers. We know all that. The people, like I said, it comes dormant. They want to see who has the best chance of beating those guys, right? Who's going to be the next contender up. And you know what? Like I said, I'm rooting for all these small market teams. The Tigers, right? You said they got momentum going. Okay, to me, they have another month and a half to show what they have to make at least 500 at the All-Star game. If you could get yourself to 500 at the All-Star game, you're talking now. Now you're talking to where they were to 500 may sound like crap to a lot of people, but you know how much hard work that is when you're 15 games behind, to catch up. Listen, this is a roller coaster ride. Like we said, it's a marathon. You're going to find teams that go on 15-game winning streaks, right? They're going to be hot as hell. Then they're going to lose 8 in a row. That's the way it goes. And those fans, Jason, Jesus Christ, why they lose all this? Well, you can't complain. You just won 15 in a row. You can't win every damn ball game. It's about being consistent through the season. And those teams that don't go on those, 10-game losing streaks, those are the ones that are going to be in it. Let's face the facts. They're going to be in it. If you haven't gone through an 8-game or a 7-game losing streak, you know what? You're pretty damn good. You're good to be doing that. And you cannot dismiss it. Like I said, you got All-Star game coming around the corner. It's going to be here faster than you think. And I don't know the date this year. It's usually like what, July 10th, 12th?
July 13th, I believe it is.
Right. So I mean, you basically have a month and a half, not even, and then you're gonna start to see a little bit more eyeballs, right, on the TV sets, because now it's the second half of the baseball season. Then you start to get a lot more people's interest, right? You got everything going, and at that time, everybody wants to steal the spotlight. You have football starting up, right? Then you have basketball, all this. So baseball's kind of cluttered in this middle where their season is almost ending, going towards postseason, and a lot of these other sports are just beginning, which should, you would think, just blank that out and concentrate on baseball, because baseball only comes once a year. It's a marathon, and when you do get to the playoffs, there's no other game. I don't care what it is. There's no other game in this world that's exciting when you get to the playoffs in Major League Baseball, because anything can happen. The plays, the memories, it is a wonderful game. It's the hardest game to play, right? It's the hardest game to play on the face of the earth, to me, to hit a baseball. And these guys are doing it at such a level. And when you come to playoff time, you know what? Records don't mean crap. Throw that out. How many times have we seen the number 6 seed beat the number 1? We've seen it. Does it happen often? Not too often, but it happens quite more often than basketball, football. It happens. It definitely does.
I'll use this, and it's going to transition into our first real topic. I mean, I'm loving this conversation, because you're hitting a lot of the points here that I'm like, I cannot agree more, and I have said the same damn thing. especially when it comes to the World Series. I remember as a kid, Vinny, the World Series being such a big deal. And I can remember the 82 World Series. I remember the 84 World Series. Obviously, that's the last time the Tigers won. And then I can remember everyone after that. And just thinking, God, these are the two best teams in baseball, an American League team versus a National League team. And we didn't see that except for the All-Star game. There was no interleague play back then. And part of me misses that. You know what I mean? Like, we've seen some great matchups over the years since they've incorporated interleague play, but there was just such another level of anticipation and mystique and all this that when it came to the World Series. And like I miss that so much, but it garners this question. Is it because Major League Baseball has failed to properly promote their star players, to make them larger than life, to make them larger than the game, that they can put them on billboards, put them on ads, put them on anything, and we know without a shadow of a doubt that that is a baseball player that plays for this team or whatever. We really don't have that, with maybe the exception of two that come to mind. One we're going to talk about, but the first one that would come to mind is Mike Trout. Because Mike Trout, back in the day, around 2012, 2013, when he was really reaching his prime, like, he was all over the place. And it just seems like there really hasn't been that larger than life star that MLB needs. And it's not like the guy's not there. It's MLB has not properly utilized their promotional tools. Would you agree with that?
100%. You know what it comes down to, Jason? Money, of course.
Ohtani might
Ohtani.
be an exception.
Right.
Let me calm down. Yes, Shohei Ohtani. But other than that, who is it?
No, I agree. There's not those big names, and I blame it a lot on, of course, MLB, because I mean you're babying these guys, right? Especially for the pitchers. Just to switch over to the pitchers, these guys are going 5 innings. How can you make a name when you and I grew up on the pitchers were going? I mean, you could look at the stats, anyone. Go look at the complete games in from 1918 to right around 2000. These guys were going at least 7 or 8. Now we're pulling them out, right? The superstars, like you said, Ohtani. Look at him. When he's not batting, he's pitching.
Right.
It's kind of a poke to us as us Americans saying, what are you guys doing this? You should be out there more. And that's the thing. I think they're not out there. And here's a good point, too. When you used to go to the ball game, they sign autographs, no problem. You don't see that anymore. They're not signing. They're not signing, Jay. Me and my father used to be like, let's get there an hour early. We'll see the batting practice. It doesn't go that way anymore. They don't come out. You know what it is? If you want my autograph, go to Steiner. We'll sign up for that, and because they're making money signing it. They're not making money signing it for the fans. And that's what made it nice, up and close and personal. Hey, Doc, back then, good and over here, they would acknowledge you and come talk to you, give an autograph, need this. Those times are done. I have not seen that. I've been to let's see. I've been to Citi Field 3 times. They don't do that, Jason. You're just sitting there waiting for the game to begin. They take their batting practice. They go right in the dugout, and you don't see them. It's not that family-oriented anymore where, hey, can we take a picture together? And they used to do. They were out there. You knew they were out there to sign the autographs. Now it's the money is just such an overshadowing them that you're not getting that kind of product. It's if I'm going to sign, I got to make my money too. And that's what's taking, I think, a lot of it out. I really do.
I could not agree more. And you brought up an aspect that I hadn't even thought about, and that is the players that are coming out signing the autographs before games. Because I mean, every baseball movie that virtually every baseball movie that deals around MLB or a minor league team or something like there is at least a scene where that is a thing because that was part of the game, right? And I feel like that is why I have such a high level of respect for Trout because Mike Trout, even though when the Angels played the Tigers back then, I couldn't stand the guy because he was so good. And he was the number one rival to Miguel Cabrera for the batting titles every year. Mike Trout is a beast. But he has really become the face of the Los Angeles Angels. He had really become a face of MLB, and his fan interaction is something that even though I didn't want to root for him because again, Miggy's rival, but you couldn't help but appreciate the guy. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And then as you were talking, I was sitting here thinking, God, who was that last real larger than life MLB player that when you saw him on TV or he made a cameo in a movie or a show or something like that, you knew immediately who that was. And as much as it pains me, Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter
Right.
probably. Now, this leads me to this question. Is it because at that time, MLB or whoever was in charge of the promotional bullshit, like they capitalized on him? I mean, let's be honest. Derek Jeter is a good-looking guy. He was a great athlete. He was playing for the Yankees. Like, he was the quintessential baseball player for a lot of kids, growing up. And I want to be him. You know what I mean?
Yep.
If you were going to make
Absolutely.
a baseball player, it was Derek Jeter, right? Can we agree on that?
100%.
But is it because MLB promoted him? Or is it because the New York Yankees and all the power that they have and all the influence that they have were the ones who promoted him? It's an interesting question. You know what I mean? I feel like it's probably a Yankee thing more than MLB.
No. Your point's well taken. I never really thought of it that way. To me, it was on the individual itself, right? Like, I'm a major league ball player. I'm compassionate. I want to get the hell out there and I want to sign some autographs. But like you said, it's not as easy as that. You have that part of the organization where they're talking this over, where they're going over all this stuff, where they're telling them you can't. But see, that doesn't go over well. And you're 100% right. Every organization's different. But if I'm a ball player, in my own set of mind, what am I doing wrong by signing autographs and making myself available in the ballpark, not other places? And organizations that all right, let's have a real conversation here. Like Derek Jeter, like you said, genuine guy. Do I believe him? All the things he does? Absolutely, because the stand-up guy that he is. But you see these organizations, I don't care what sport it is. Are they 100% invested, or are they told to go to the Cancer, Institute? You know what I mean, Jason?
Yeah,
Is it their true
wondered
passion?
that.
You know what I mean? Is it their true passion? Like, for myself, my son with autism, right? So is there a ball player that's like, damn, you know what? We got it in our family. If I make it big, I'm going to be the poster boy for that organization. I want to make that bigger and better. This way, these kids can get the help. And that's the question. Are they being told, listen, just go to the hospital? You know what I mean? And visit a few people. Is it 100% of the time? No. It depends on the individual. Like you said, a Trout, Jeter, A-Rod, I'm not buying his shit. I'm just not buying his shit. Some people have to be forced into organizations, and that shouldn't be. Like you said, You're larger than life. You're making a lot of money. You're playing for the New York Yankees. The least you could do is make some money for these kids. And you know what? As much as what basketball, look what LeBron James has done. Built schools. That's a good man. As much as you may not like him as a ball player, look what he's done off the field. He didn't have to do that, Jason. He did not have to build schools and this and that. Those are the people I really, really respect to the highest point because they're not being told what to do. They're doing it all on their own with their own money.
100%, Vinny, and I couldn't agree with you more. I use Derek Jeter as an example because for the longest time he has been and will probably forever be known as the captain of the New York Yankees. And when you talk about the current here and now team of the Yankees, the face of the company, the current captain, as it were, Aaron Judge. We talked on Tuesday. We briefly mentioned on Tuesday because it had come across my radar that he had been pulled from the starting lineup of that night's game, on Tuesday night's game, in what was called a bone bruise. Well, here we are 2 days later, and Judge is been scrapped again for the third game in a row. And it looks like, Vinny, that this could be a more serious injury than just a bone bruise. Upon reading this, there is a lot of concern right now that he has, and I want to make sure I get this right, so bear with me.
Sure.
What doctors are looking to rule out right now is something called thoracic outlet syndrome. Which is a season-ending diagnosis. This is something that happens a lot with high-performance athletes, and you can say what you want about baseball players, but especially with a guy the size of Aaron Judge. He is a very large man, very tall. He's
Stout, big.
Yeah. It takes more effort to get that body to move in the way that he needs it to move, right? It's going to be a lot more wear and tear on joints and ligaments and tendons and things of this nature. But right now, there's so much swelling in his rib cage, they can't get an accurate reading as to what exactly is going on. While we kind of poked fun at this a little bit on Tuesday because it was a very preliminary report at that point, he had just been scratched because of what was deemed to be a bone bruise. And, we said there, just get in there and, play the damn game. But at the same time, like, this is a power hitter. And, if your ribs are not feeling right, you ain't going to be able to swing that bat nowhere near the way you need to.
Right.
So for Yankee fans, and look, I know I have said on this show, I've said on the Sports Reel podcast, and I will continue to do so, but I have completely shit on the New York Yankees because they are the evil empire in my view. I do not root for these guys. However, I do not wish any kind of long-term ill harm on anybody, unless you are a complete douchebag. And I just don't feel like Aaron Judge is that. I am concerned for his well-being. Now, if you're a Tampa Bay Rays fan, this is welcome news because the Yankees are knocking on the doorstep of trying to overtake the AL East.
Right.
But back to the humanitarian part of it, let's look at it from a human perspective. For his sake, I hope this isn't something that winds up being a lot more serious than maybe we have anticipated at this point. What's your thoughts here, Vinny?
My thought is, all right, like football, they downplay it, right? The injury is not as big. As you and I talk, they say bone bruise, right? Is it, or is it a fracture, or is it deeper? Did it crack and disrupt the lung, right?
Right.
because the ribs are near the lung, right there. So we don't know the severity really. Only Aaron Judge and the organization does. And if it is a cracked rib, Jason, there's nothing you could do about it but sit and let it heal. Because the more you go out and play, the worse you're going to make it if it is, say, a cracked rib. And I'm kind of leaning towards more of a cracked rib because a bruise, he's like you said, third day, it should have started to work itself out by now. Say it is a cracked rib, like I said, that's going to take, gosh, I mean, ribs take a while to heal. All depends on how. I mean, they have the best facilities to get these guys back in the game. But like you said, is it a little bit more serious than that? Is it a lung issue? Did it puncture a little? Which is all possible. I mean, these guys throw hard. They're getting hit in the ribs. You don't know. They're diving. And you make a very, very great point on the size of him. Now, for us that are, 6 feet or this and that, that's fine. But once you start to hit that 6'7" and taller, your lifespan becomes shorter and shorter. Let's be real. The basketball players, your joints, like you said, Wimbleyambo, that guy, 7'5". Call me in about 30 years, not even. See how he is, not wishing anything, like you said. It's just a known fact that players that size, like you said, it takes more effort to get around, to perform better. And then when you retire, and then the injuries from what you had from playing takes so longer to heal, and your quality of life does shrink. Andre the Giant, there you go, right? There you go, Jason. I mean, look at the story. I know all about what happened to Andre the Giant.
Mm-hmm.
And it's you can't ignore that. Everybody that starts to get over that height risk themselves in later years. That's what I'm saying. In later years and during playing times too.
Yeah, you look at a guy like Aaron Judge. I believe he checks in 6'9" and
6'7", 6'8", about 6'8". Yeah, he's about 6'7", 6'8".
He's I don't want to say abnormally large for a baseball player, but he is among the biggest baseball players playing right now.
Right.
You talk about guys like Andre the Giant, you other professional wrestlers, especially the Big Show, and but these are guys that, especially with Andre's case, he had that disease that his glands were producing more hormones than his body could take,
Right.
and that ultimately is what led to his untimely passing, because he just put so much pressure on his heart and everything. I'm surprised that we don't see more heart issues with larger athletes, specifically basketball players, like you were saying. But back on track here, I looked up thoracic outlet syndrome, because I'll be honest, I've never heard of this. So I did a little bit of research here, and this is an injury that is more susceptible to pitchers than not, because of the way they extend their bodies when they're throwing the baseball.
Right.
Now, technically speaking, the thoracic outlet itself is the area between the neck and shoulder. TOS is a group of conditions caused by the compressions of nerves or blood vessels in the thoracic outlet. The compression can cause shoulder and neck pain. It can also lead to numbness in the fingers, his grip, cold hands, and swelling.
Wow.
Now, a lot of people, more non-athletes, I should say, they deal with this, and it says right here, more often than not in automobile accidents. So
Right here.
you're looking at, you take all this information in, and you add it to what Aaron Judge is going through, and they're specifically targeting his ribs for some reason. And it says in here that one way that they fix this, or one of the only ways it can be fixed, is if they remove a rib. Can you imagine
my
having to
gosh.
have one of your ribs removed? Like, what the hell is
Yep.
going on right now? This is going to
Yeah.
be very interesting.
You know what? Now that you said that, I've heard of it. I didn't know the definition. It was just on television the other time. Yes, they take a rib out to relieve the pressure on it, and that's crazy, like you said. So it's more up here, right, Jason?
Yeah,
Like in the throwing pec,
yeah, yeah.
almost. Yeah. So that's odd. I thought it was under here. You would think ribs under your, armpit over here, which, yeah, cause numbness. Oh my gosh. So they have, in other words, they got to nip this in the bud, because if this gets out of hand the way you're reading that, oh my gosh, he'll miss obviously the rest of the season if they have to remove a rib. And I mean, beyond that, you don't know. You start messing with that. How's your performance?
Right.
Without you're meant for ribs. You take out one, it's not going to hurt you, but I'm saying it will hurt your performance. Maybe. I'm not a doctor, but maybe.
Crazy, man. Crazy. And I can understand if you are a Yankees fan, there is some concern here. So let me just go ahead, because I poked fun at this, thinking, you fucking wuss, get in there and
Right.
play baseball. You're being paid millions of dollars. I apologize.
Right.
I'm,
Right.
I'm man enough to say I apologize for not taking this nearly as seriously as I should have. I've learned my lesson, and that's the only time I will apologize.
I think I'll piggyback off that too. I very seldom you're going to hear me say sorry and Yankees in the same sentence.
Right.
But you know what? When it comes down to it, like you said, he seems like a stand-up guy. He doesn't seem like an outrageous, guy that's gonna hurt people. This and that. He seems like a nice guy, and you want him to perform because, without Aaron Judge, where are the Yankees? He, like you said, he is the franchise right now. So
Right.
you lose that piece. We really don't want to see that. We always say it, but for the competitiveness and everything, because then what's going to follow up, Jason. You know what's going to follow up. God forbid he goes out for the year. If he didn't go out, we would have won it. No, don't give me that shit. I can't stand that.
If you
One
had a
person.
better team, you would have won.
Yeah, we
You
would
would've
have
found
won. You know what? All these ifs. It happens. It happens. And other teams, Jason, know how to pick up the pieces. Oh shit, we just lost our number one guy. What can we do to sub within that? Not a lot of people always have the right answer for that. They try to pick through the weeds, and you might find a bad weed in there or two that actually does more damage than good. And that's the thing. We, like you said, we poke fun and everything, but you know what? In the end, you want that competitiveness. Say the Tigers, they make the World Series. You want Aaron Judge on well, they can't be. I'm sorry. If he was on say the ALCS, right? You want him in there to say they had everybody in there, right? And we kicked their ass. No excuses, right? No excuses. Aaron Judge and this was out. You want him in there this way. You could say 100% legit, even though we know it's legit, just out to the fans that really don't know it.
No, for sure. Listen, I want to make a transition here to discuss an aspect of the game of baseball that we don't put enough spotlight on. And again, like I said at the top of the program here tonight, you are going to bring a very unique perspective. But before we get to that, I do want to make mention for those who have Peacock. Sunday Night Baseball this week will be the San Francisco Giants at the Chicago Cubs. I am going to be watching this game for sure. I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to this, being a Cubby fan. 8:30 p.m. on NBC and Peacock, Sunday Night Baseball. I have Peacock. I love the fact that Peacock got the streaming rights for Sunday Night Baseball. But even if it had stayed on ESPN, I still would have been able to watch it because, I have to have ESPN in order to watch WWE's pay-per-views, Vinny. God damn it,
Right.
this whole streaming service thing. But this,
Oh,
don't
mess.
get me started. Do not get
I
me
know.
started.
I hear
I-
you. I hear
we'll,
you.
we'll table that for the next episode here on Ball Game.
Absolutely.
But Vinny, let's spend a little bit of time here this week talking about, and I'll go ahead and say it, and you can send me your hate tweets at PFC Network over on Twix or TikTok, as it were. Um, One of the unsung heroes of baseball, because at the end of the day, if we can be honest, you cannot have a baseball game without bare minimum 2 teams of 9 players and umpires.
That's right.
And with as much negative spotlight that has been bestowed upon the umpire staff, not just in MLB, but all of baseball. And I'm talking, brother, the little league level, okay? My son is a baseball player. He has been playing virtually all of his life. From little league up into he's going into his senior year this fall in high school. And the way I have seen umpires be treated, abused, is nothing short of sickening. And now in MLB, with the advent of the challenge, which you have said very passionately that you are not a fan of. And I respected your opinion, but I didn't understand where it came from until you and I started talking before we came on the air here tonight. And you kind of peeled I'll let you decide how far you want to peel it back on the show. But you afforded me the privilege of seeing a very big part of your personal life, which I appreciated, by the way. And I'm like, man, this is something that we really need to talk about on the show, and that is looking at shit through the eyes of the umpire. Because you yourself, even after you had been a player, and a pretty good one from my understanding, you spent a significant amount of time as an umpire and had doors of opportunity presented to you that not a lot of people have any experience in. And I just felt like, man, this is a perfect way to kind of shed some spotlight and to put things into the perspective from the viewpoint of the umpire. So Vinny, I would guess that you've been a baseball guy your entire life, for as long as you can remember. And we all grew up wanting to be ball players. But at what age do you think that you really started to look at things from the perspective of the umpire? As a fan, as a player, either or.
Well, see, I started off very, very young as a player and umpire. As a player young, when I was 13 years old, there was rules back then. There's not so many rules today. I was 13, so I was in junior Babe Ruth, which gave me an opportunity to umpire Little League, right? So I did Little League, and there was a rule. You can't be behind the plate the first year. You got to have your experience out in the field, which was great. And you had to do at least 2 years of Little League umpire to move up in the rankings to do junior Babe, right? And obviously you have to be old enough. So I did Little League for about 3 years. It wasn't the funnest, okay? Because, look, they're Little Leaguers, okay? You're bending down. You're learning the rules. Every year you have to take a test, okay? There's a rules book. You have to know it. You are tested on it at least twice a year. And if you fail, you don't get your certification. It's as simple as that. And I started to respect the game Yes, like around 14, 15 years old, because you're playing ball and these guys are back there sweating their ass off and trying to call a good game. And the fans, if you want to call fans, the parents back then, their number one thing is my kid is the best and he's gonna make it. And yeah. So you have to take everything into consideration and stay focused and call your game. What I noticed is, and I said this in my later years, you have a lot of chirping, and if you don't have thick skin, you're not going to make it as an umpire because you're called a lot of things, and people get in your face. And I said to a team once, they were like, "Oh, you're messing it up for this or this and that." I said, "Come over here," and I explained it very simply. Do you know the number that it takes 1 in every million to make the major leagues? And he, not really. I know it's tough. I said, play the game, have fun. This is what it's about for the kids. Having fun and playing the game. That's all that matters. Nobody is an all-star game the way it's played right now. And that's how you shut that down. A lot of people don't know how to you have to take command over the game. Because if you don't, you're going to hear it from inning 1 to 7. You're going to hear ba 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 ba. That's why when you go over the ground rules, right, and you have a partner out there, you guys are in sync. Now, I was lucky enough to have permanent partners. So in my later years, like say 2002, me and my buddy that was a great umpire too, we were on the same page. And you know what? That's really, really good, what you don't see. It's like, okay, you're doing this game and this, and you're with that umpire, but you really don't know how that umpire works, so you have to collaborate a little bit. So that's what makes it difficult too. If you're around an umpire that is, you've been around for 5 years, and now you've got to switch up to a different umpire that you're calling with. Okay, there's signals, I'm sure you know, that you have to go off with, nobody out, okay? And you know who's your best friend? The catcher. Let me tell you, the catcher knows. And when you're bending down, okay, to make that call, the catcher will go, boom, you call it. He'll say, little out, right, Blue? Exactly. Nobody knows what goes on behind the plate. They really don't. Now you're starting to, they're putting microphones, but if you have a good catcher, because we depend on good catchers, because I can't tell you how many times I got hit in the face, how many times I must have got a concussion and didn't even know, because these guys were throwing, right? You're throwing a foul ball, okay? A foul ball at 85 miles an hour is equal to basically 100 when it's coming off the bat. So right. You're trying to protect yourself and the catcher. And the catchers, luckily for me, did not ever turn back and argue with me, because they're right there. They know the call, right? And now they get up to bat, and they see, catchers are very smart. They understand the game a little bit more than the other players, because they're behind the plate. They know the call, and they will say, okay, for instance, now the ABS rules, right? The game's 10-1, Jason. What am I going to do? I tell them, let's open up the strike zone. We're going to open up the strike zone here. You're losing by 9. We're in the 6th inning. Let's swing the bats. Well, guess what? Now the major league umpires, they can't even do that. Think of it. It's 15-1. They call it upside. They're tapping. Man, that's got to piss them off, because, look, the odds of coming back from 15-1 in the major leagues or anywhere is very, very small. So we would say expand the zone a little bit, or start off with your original, a zone. And over the years, you become very good at it. You have an eye. And like you and I were talking behind the scenes, there's plenty of games where I jumped out of this seat, Jason, and it's like, are you freaking kidding me? They're challenging this. I'm sure you've seen it, 1.5 inches below. I think they're challenging just to challenge, right? And there was a certain one that I was telling you about. The guy called it a ball, right? He taps on it. The little red that you see in the background here, the stitching just nicked it. Now you tell me how you are going to find that a strike, okay? Unless you have a wide zone. If you have a wide zone, that's going to be right. But if you have a tight strike zone, no. So my thing is, we don't have a bionic eye where it's like, okay, I can see the stitch. It's all where the catcher sets up to. It's all where he sets up. The crossover, that is so true. If the guy is setting up inside and he's got to go out, right, you're not going to get that call. Even though it may be a strike, you're making the umpire go from this view now over here. And nobody likes to do that. Are you gonna miss it all the time? No. But that's what's called a cross-up. You know that. They cross them up, and you're not going to get the call. You go, geez, that was on the outside corner. Maybe. But you know what? You set it up so far inside, and you're reaching. That's what we're going off of, the reach of the glove. And you don't have that much time to think when the ball is coming at 90 miles an hour. I mean, people would go, oh, it doesn't look that fast on television. Oh, really? Oh, really? Get behind the plate and tell me what you see behind the plate at 90, or these guys throwing 85-mile-an-hour curveballs where you have to stay still. You can't, if you're jumpy, you're done. You can't be, you got to stay in there. You got to risk your body as the catcher risk his body. Same thing. The umpires get hurt just like the catchers. They get hit. They get everywhere. Okay, I got it in the balls a few times. Not fun. Not fun. The catchers, and that's the thing. When you're an umpire and you're umpiring at a level, say 16 to 18, you got to have some compassion. Like there was a catcher. Okay, I'll tell this story. No names, of course. I felt very bad for this guy because you have your parents, father. I'm sorry, that's pushing you, and pushing you. You got to be out there. You got to be out there. So there's one time, it was the Mickey Mantle League, and the kid gets a foul ball. It bounces, it hits him in the nuts, right? And so I give him time. Take your time. No problem, right? Are you okay? Because as an umpire, that's my responsibility. These are kids, Jason. I'm not going to say get back that. Are you okay? You go to the coach. Listen, this is my recommendation. I don't think he should be in. You can make recommendations like this. So he's okay. Comes out the next inning. Second pitch, same thing. Boom, hits him in the balls. For the second time. You know what I said to him? I said, he's laying on the ground going, fuck you, Dad. Yeah. Fuck you, this hurts. Yeah. Because his father made him go back out. And I said, son, do you plan to have a family one day? He said, yes. I said, get out of here. Go take the gear off right now. And I said to that father, I said, how did you force your son back out after he told you he did not want to go back in? I didn't know because I'm back over here. They're talking. How dare you? And he's on the ground, rolling around going, F you, Dad, F you. This effing hurts. And I'm like, holy cow. This, you know what? That's a very sensitive area. You don't know what damage. I mean, 2 innings in a row.
Right.
At a pitcher that was throwing about 85 miles an hour, boom, boom. I felt so bad for the kid, but there goes to show you, what are the odds of that happening? Jason, I was as surprised as you. I'm like, holy shit. The kid's down again. I'm like, oh me. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. This kid's nuts must be swollen to the size of a freaking horse. He must have horse nuts at this time. Holy shnikes. It was like, you want to have kids? Yeah, maybe, because you probably lost a lot of sperm count in that below. I mean, you're wearing your cup, but as we call it, twisted balls, it gets underneath, man. It's the underneath. He lifted up, Jason, and he was like, I said, God damn, I heard that. You hear it. You hear the flesh, and you go, I'm cringing with him. and it's okay. I know. My buddy's out there in the field, and he's bent over like you, And I'm going, oh, I'm going like this to him, Jason. I'm going, no, don't crack a smile. Don't, I'm going, because both of us know at the end of the game, we're going to be like, holy shit, did you see that? You know? But true story. I mean, I could tell you tons of stories about, oh my. And then, yeah. And there's this one time, I'll end on this. I was 18 years old. My father used to be out in the field doing it with me too. And all you heard all game from just one of the stands, you had the two stands, right? Chirp, 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 you, this, that. Listen to this, Jason. I gave the whole stands a warning. I said, listen, it was that bad. I said, if you want your kids to play this game, I better not hear another word towards me out here again, because this is becoming bullshit, I said, honest to God, I said, I hear another word, I will forfeit this game, and I will go home and eat early. Just like that. And eat early. I'm getting paid no matter freaking what. You want to act like assholes? And every little thing. No way. And I know what people out there are going to say. Well, he must have been a bad umpire. Hell no. Bad coaches, bad judgment, bad stands that are all the way over there. You know what? You got to put a stop to it. And yes, my nickname was the tosser. I would toss the sumbitches, and here's me, Jason. You know the rules. They got to go to the parking lot, right?
Yeah.
All the way out to the parking lot. Well, this one parking lot in Wilton was about a quarter of a mile, and I waited. I stood there like this and waited until he hit the gravel, and I said, play ball now. Let's go. I'm sorry. You know what? It was like boom, 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 boom. But you know what? You earn respect.
Yeah.
They know. Oh, shit. Vinny's behind the plate? No. Whatever the call is going to be, he's good. Let him do it. Because once you start to chirp at him, you're going to be gone. And especially kids. It comes off on the kids. I had another situation where this kid, now this is the real twisted part. The ball was at his knees. I called strike 3. He looks back at me and says, that's bullshit. And I went, whoop, I tossed him. So the coach that I knew at the time as a hard ass didn't say anything about till a minute and a half later. You know why? Because I ejected him and playoff time was the next day. So he couldn't play. He gets in my face and I said, wait a minute, time out. Would you let a 15-year-old kid swear at you? That's what I said. Would you let him turn around and say bullshit to you? And he argued, and that was the wrong part. I said, you know better. You know better not to say that to an umpire. That's a no-no. When you directly look back and swear at an umpire, 99.9% of the time you're gone. And to back up that kid because you realize, oh, shoot, he can't play the first game of the playoffs? That's not my problem. So that's a little what we went through. That's only a tiny sample. My father there was a guy 6'6", Jason. I tossed him out, and at the end of the game, he kept chirping. I threw my face mask down, and I said, come on, motherfucker, you want to go? My father grabbed me by the neck. He goes, are you fucking crazy? Let's get the hell out of here. This guy was freaking huge. But you know what? In the heat of the moment, you don't give a shit.
Right.
You don't give a shit because you know you're making the correct calls, and you got these coaches that are not all the way into baseball. So it's like, what are you telling me what to do for when I've been doing this for 20 years at the time? So that's a little insight. Like I said, the catcher's your best friend on both teams because they're gonna be the ones to save you a lot of the times. Picks in the dirt. I've seen it a lot. And but I gotta say, I loved every minute of umpiring. There's no other enjoyment knowing that you made the right call, that at the end of the game, the guys come up to you, great game, this and that, and you've done it. And with these challenges system, like you said, the ABS is a slap in the face to the umpires that are trying the hardest. Now, you can disagree with them, right? I mean, okay, you want to disagree with them, but eventually, you know what this is headed for, and we can't have not a physical robot behind the bait, but ABS up there calling balls and strikes. Number one, it won't look right, and number two, it's not right. It's just not right. For 100 years, over 100 years, you've had an umpire. Now you want to second guess them, and they're putting them under fire. And believe me, their union right now is probably talking, how can we get rid of this ABS? How can we fight back and get rid of this ABS? Because this is affecting, our performance. We are under a microscope now, right? They're under a microscope now, Jason. Every little point, oh man, he shouldn't have been the major, get him out. That's terrible to say and think when they're behind the plate as a professional and doing the best job that they can do. I'll ask you, is 2 out of, let's say 3, is 3 calls out of 100, would you say that's good?
Yeah.
You missed 3 calls? Damn right.
Yeah.
When they come, how critical they are, that depends. But if I'm rating Jason right now, and I say, and I look at a game and I say, Jason, you had 150 calls, you only got 4 wrong. Damn, that's damn good.
It's a good day at the office.
Yeah, that's a great day. But Jason, what I'm trying to say is, it's coming down to no mistakes. You can't make one mistake now. It's like, what? I'll take 3 out of 100 anytime. And they're not looking at it that way. They're looking at it as, oh man, it was a 1/4 inch off the plate. Get the hell out of here with that. Come on. It gets ridiculous. It really, really does, Jay.
This is I have a lot, so just bear with me. As you can tell, I made a couple of notes of things I wanted to touch on. Parents, coaches, I'm fixing to fire you the fuck up, if I can be honest with you. But the whole ABS system is really trying to it's dehumanizing America's pastime. Now, I have rooted for teams that have been on the positive sides of a bad call and the negative one. And I will continue to use this as an example for the rest of my life. Armando Galarraga and his blown perfect game with Jim Joyce.
Right.
Blown call. It was a blown call by an umpire that cost that kid a perfect game. Mm-hmm. If we had instant replay back then, he would have had his perfect game. But here's the thing. We didn't. And it goes down as one of the lores in baseball history. Now, let me ask you this. If Galarraga had his perfect game, would we still mention him as often as we do? No. He would be mentioned when we're looking at a list of guys who had perfect games.
There you go.
End of story. Okay?
Good point.
Now,
yeah,
umpires are human beings. Umpires are going to fuck up because we as human beings, we fuck up. That's what we do. Yeah. We try not to, right? But it happens. It's inevitable. Guess what? Every single man, woman, and child who is screaming at an umpire, unless you walk on water and can turn water into wine, guess what? You fuck up too. Exactly. Do you have somebody screaming at you in your face with their finger pointed, calling you everything but what you truly are?
Right. Right.
What's the difference here?
Yeah.
You mentioned, your a couple of stories about your time as an umpire, which, by the way, Horse Nuts is going to be a t-shirt coming to the PFC store very soon here, so stay tuned. Horse Nuts. I don't know. It tickled me to no end.
But Jason, you know what too? what I wanted to just piggyback was, what I forgot to say is, okay, if the umpire's calling a little bit outside, adjust to it, right? Back in the day, hey guys, where's he calling it? He's calling a little high today. Adjust. That's one word, adjust. They didn't come out screaming at you, adjust. And they would tell the kids that. That's another thing. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're totally. See, you need to have that perspective, because people don't think about this shit. What they see, and now I'm going to transition over to parents here for a minute, because again, I have seen my fair share of complete and total assholes. Okay, I've seen some cool ones too, make no mistake. But the other side of that spectrum are the ones that get the spotlight because they're so obnoxious about it. I, as a kid growing up in the town of Hadley, I umpired Little League games for a little bit there, during my very early teenage years. My brother was a player and all that. So even at that level, I remember parents chirping, and I'm like, these are 7, 8, 9-year-old kids. What are you doing? What are you doing? Yeah. There was one game in particular, and I'll never forget this. This is probably the first time I really put myself out there, like in an authority figure. I stopped the game because there was a lot of shit talking going on, and I turned around and I'm like, look, I don't know if I have to be the one to tell you this here today, but MLB contracts will not be handed out here at this game. Calm down.
Yep.
Like, what are you doing?
Yep.
I've said that during my son's games. Like, do you see MLB scouts here? No, you do not. Relax. Parents, look, I understand.
Yep.
As a parent, as a parent of an athlete, we want our kids to be good. We want our kids to be looked upon as being good, right? I mean, we don't want our kid to be the one that sits at the end of the bench, because as much as he loves the game of baseball, he just does not have an athletic bone in his body. But I believe that every kid should have an opportunity to at least play the game on some level. I don't care if he's good, bad, or otherwise. If he has a legitimate love for the game, he should be afforded an opportunity to play. Now, with that being said, when a less than talented kid steps up to the plate, the last thing a parent needs to do is sit there and chirp and shit talk loud enough for this kid and anybody else outside their little clique or circle can hear that. What kind of sick bitch does that? What is wrong in your mental makeup that justifies you shit talking a kid trying to live out a dream? You sick bastard. I can tell you stories.
I agree. No, Jay, whatever what you said there, 1,000,000% right. Absolutely, you are correct. Like you said, who are you to judge my kid, right? Like you said, at the age that they are, because he's not as good as your kid? You're absolutely correct. They should encourage him, when he's up to bat the same way. Absolutely.
Yeah. Even put a little stank on it. You know what I mean? Make this, because this kid already knows he's not good, because he's already been positioned sitting on the bench for 3/4 of the fucking game. He knows he's not good enough. So then you start chipping away at the love of the game. And this is the shit that pisses me off, is when you get this kind of chirping going on by parents or coaches and shit like that, you're not only ruining this kid's dream, you're ruining his love for the game of baseball. And what gives you the right to have that kind of power to strip something away from anybody that they love, that they appreciate, that they have a passion for, because they may not have the same level of athletic ability as your kid does. Well, here's the thing. I will take a kid sitting on the bench that has heart over a kid that has talent with a fucking attitude. I'll take him any day of the week and twice on Sunday. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to fruition, that kid with the heart and the passion is going to be the one that ultimately pulls us out of whatever fucked up issue that we're in a game, because he's going to at least try. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They're not going
Absolutely.
to phone it in. This is the shit that pisses me off. Because how many times have you heard, Vinny, well, I used to watch baseball. Well, why didn't you?
Right.
And then when they start peeling the layers of that onion back, it goes back to some point in their childhood when they tried to play the game, and their dad was an asshole to them, their coaches were an asshole to them, the fans in the stands were assholes to them, and now they don't want anything to do with it, because why? It brings bad memories.
Sure.
And who wants to remember that shit? That sucks.
You're right. Like you said, when that kid thinks back when he's 10 years old, he got embarrassed. He got embarrassed, Jason. Like you said, you're embarrassing the kid. They're kids. They're kids. And if you can't root on a team, like you said, your team, the way you do, for your own child, then you don't, if you can't do that, then don't come to the game. Then don't come to the game if you're going to do that, because you're breaking him down, like you said. All right, we might know that he's not going to make the varsity team, but Jesus Christ, like you said, let him play the game. I'll take 10 of them, like you said, that tries 110% than a lollygagger that has a speck of athleticism. I'll take the 100% guy all the time, because you know what? He's not going to give me shit. If I tell him to run 3 laps, he's going to run 3 laps. He's not going to say, hey, you know what, coach, I'm too good for that. I'm not going to do that. No. Right? No, absolutely not. No. That happens, Jason. We're talking about it, but it happens every day. It happens to. Do you know how many players probably, most likely, would have either went to college or AAA or whatever, if it wasn't for their, say, high school coaches or their middle school coaches? There's a lot. There's a lot of favoritism. There's people kissing the coach's ass. Well, how come he's not playing? Oh, I know, because the father's taking the coach out for a friggin' drink. That's why your kid's not playing. Let's get real here. We know the friggin' reason. You could put a kid in, outperform the other kid. It doesn't matter what you do, because, like you said before, they're in that clique. They're in that clique, and you're not getting out of that clique. You're just not. You don't belong. You're forcing your way in, and no, it's not. It's terrible. How many people got thrown away because of that? Wasted talent.
It's amazing to me that these cliques of parents, like, somebody along the way misinformed them in the fact that their opinion, their presence means something.
Right.
Beyond just being a supporter for their kid, their child on the team. Somebody let them know or told them erroneously that they matter and they're above everybody else. Number one, go fuck yourself.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
I don't need to Sue. It'd be too easy to start diving into real life experiences.
You know what, Jason? I'm going to blow it up right now. I'm going to tell you right now. This is what I'm going through now. As athletic I was, like you said, with the umpire, this, that. My son is 10 years old with autism. Mm-hmm. Okay? He's not going to be able to do everything that I did. But you know what? Exactly what you said. He's in a challenger league. And do you know what I see every week? And I say, good for them. You got, like you said, you got people in wheelchairs with Down syndrome. They put the bat in their hand and they wheel them around. Like you said, why are you going to take a dream out of a kid because he has a disability? You know what? It opened my eyes. And here's the kicker that is beautiful. They make the high schoolers and the middle schoolers make them their buddies to show them the other sides. It is wonderful. So I don't have to do anything, Jason. I sit in the stands, right? And you got about 15 buddies out there. And what's that do? That teaches them empathy, that how lucky they are. Let's be real, how lucky they are. And this way, they are going to take that experience and add it to their life.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. I love that. I cannot love that more.
Yep.
Every community needs this to happen.
Yes.
If these athletes who are good, but they have an ego that goes with it, if they were to get out of their own spotlight for a second, out of their own fandom for a second, and actually looked at the reality of life and how fortunate you truly are, because they need to be smacked upside the head with a dose of reality.
Right.
You know what I mean? You are in a very fortunate spot right now, and don't ever take this for granted, because there is a whole other part of life that you need to have more respect for, and in turn you learn respect for yourself and for everybody else around you. And those kind of kids become those kind of athletes who grow up and, assuming their talent takes them places, they become the Mike Trouts. They become these other players that they get it. They get it. They understand. The respect factor unto itself. If you don't have a level of respect for the game and for the people that are involved in it, get the fuck out.
Yep.
Because
Jason,
I cannot.
Yeah. I mean, they go as far as even announcing names. They're in the box. They're making it for and let me point on this one thing. Like you said, it's so wonderful when I'm registering my son. It says $50, right? This was last year. We started him, and this is his second year. You pay $50. Guess what? When you go there, you know what they do? They give you back a $50 gift certificate to Dick's. So you're paying nothing. They're actually giving you money to buy your daughter or your son the equipment that he needs, cleats Jason, I was blown away. I was like, okay, it's $50. It's cheap for him to get in. Then I go there, and they hand me a Dick's card. I'm like, what's this? They're like, it's your $50 gift card. I'm like, huh? I'm like, so we paid nothing, and we got something out of it that my son can use, and at the same time he's playing ball. And there's no judgment, like you said. There's no judgment. My son, he doesn't run very fast. Okay, he'll walk to first base. You know what? Whatever it takes. He enjoys it. He's got the bat in his hand, hit the ball, teach him how to catch this and that. And like I said, the buddies are out there. And like you said, I never experienced that until my son. It opened up a whole nother world. Like, oh my God, this, like you said, every town should have something like that. The town I live in, Jason, does not. That's why I said Stanford. I don't live in Stanford. I live in Norwalk. And you know what? They got nothing like this. And if they have something like this, they're going to charge you. So that's why, I had to go back to my father's old stomping ground, Stanford.
Interesting. Yeah, and I don't think we have anything like that around here. At least nothing that has come across my radar. And I'm not going to peel the curtain back too far because it's not my story to tell. But I'm pretty closely involved with a young man with autism, and I am all the time looking for things that he can do or has the ability. I don't think we have anything like this, so maybe I'm going to have to be the one. I don't mind. I mean,
right. I mean, like you said, research it. Maybe you're not aware of it, Jason. Maybe you're just not aware of it. Maybe it's in a different town from you. You're in your town. Maybe it's only 20 minutes away. But you know what, Jason? It means the world to these kids. It really does.
Yeah. No, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I really do appreciate that. Shout out to Cody, who's watching with us here tonight.
Cody.
Cody, with Catching Up with Cody, which you see live on Mondays at 9 p.m. on uh, YouTube and TikTok, I believe. I hope I got that right. If I didn't, I'm sure he'll correct me. I'm actually going to be on his show.
His new stash.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to be on his show
I,
July the 20th, I believe it is.
oh, okay.
Looking
Not,
forward
yeah,
to that.
Cody's awesome.
Yeah, he is. Great guy.
He's a
Great guy.
good guy. Good guy.
Very
You know,
intelligent. Very.
I have to say it though. Cody, it looks good, but don't let it grow too much. You're starting to hit the 70s, 80s porn mustache. You got to trim it down a little bit there, Bubba. I'm teasing you, Cody. You look good, bro. You look good.
Yeah, great dude. Now we'll wrap it up with this because I have something I'd like to say to the parents of baseball players, specifically on the little league, high school. Fuck it, I'll go travel leagues too. um, I really need parents to. I need you to calm down. Okay, like I love the fact that you're passionate and you're cheering your kid on, and you want your kid to do good, and you want the team to win, and you know that you really need to pump them up and all that stuff. And look, I'm all about it. I'm all about it. Be that cheerleader that they need.
Yes.
But when things don't go right on a particular day, and there will be games like that, if you are expecting that you are going to win every single game or that your kid is going to be the all-star of that particular outing every single time, you are setting yourself up for failure and disappointment. Okay? Now, while I do appreciate and I do advocate for, rooting on your team and your kids, you need to understand that there are indeed boundaries. And I know that particular word is a sticking point and it triggers a lot of people, but you need to understand that there are boundaries. People are approaching this thing, especially at a little league level, especially at junior high going into high school level. Like you're coming into it with a rated R mentality.
Yep.
You need to dial it back to a mild PG-13
Right.
at best.
At best.
Okay?
Yeah.
You cannot sit there and belittle, humiliate, um, condemn umpires, other players, coaches, because your kid's not performing, because your kid isn't doing what he needs to do. And at the end of the day, as good as he may be, or she, I'm not trying to be specific to one or the other, it goes across the board here. Every kid should have a chance to play, and that means at some point you're going to have to take a seat on the bench. It's okay, because there's always going to be that next game, right? You got to keep shit in perspective, because I can guarantee you this, and I mentioned it earlier in the show. On that particular day that you are at your little league game, or that you are at your middle school game, or that you are at your high school or travel league game, unless you are at a certain level that is double digits with the letter U, at least here in the state of Michigan, there will be no MLB scouts at that game. There are no tickets to the World Series being handed out on that particular outing. Enjoy the game for what it is. And more importantly, do not suck the fun out of the game for your particular kid, because you do not know how to act like an upstanding adult. You want to act like a perpetual bitch that had their candy taken away from them.
Yep.
That ain't how this rolls.
No.
And I promise you, the more you conduct yourself in that kind of behavior, you're going to get a lot more resistance. A lot more resistance
Yep.
the further your child goes. I can promise you that. So let's just do everybody a favor. Let's practice what we preach. That is sportsmanship, that is respect across the board, and calm the fuck down.
Yep. I agree. Everything you said, 1000%. And I'll just sprinkle this on. Like you said, your kid, if anybody's thinking out there, oh, he's going to go here, he's going to go there, you could think that. You could say that. But always remember, there's always somebody better out there.
Fuck yeah.
Always. Always. When I saw Kentucky come down here, Jason, University, I said, holy crap, these guys are huge. So in your little towns that you live in, like Jason says, you're in there, just think, when you go outside these towns, there's always somebody bigger and better, and always going to be. That's how good you have to be to make it. That's why the number is crazy. Now, with international play, it's probably 1 in a trillion now.
Yeah.
So, like Jason said, calm down, enjoy the sport, enjoy your kid, and take it as what it is.
Yeah, don't snuff out that fire of passion that your kid has for baseball because you're being an asshole. And
Right.
You're embarrassing them, you're humiliating them, and for what? For what? You know, like I understand. Like my kid, my kid has a lot of potential to go very far. He really truly does, and I'm not saying that just because he's my kid. He really does have a shit ton of talent and potential, and you know, and my kid is the most level-minded kid on his team. Like he has a mind for it. You know what I mean? And that's
But Jason, you're not giving yourself credit though, because you've taught him too. You've taught him about baseball, what you just said, sportsmanship, and you know, if you were just win, and this and that, he wouldn't think that. So you taught him well. If you're taught from the age of 8, destroy them, and no reason, that's what they're gonna go. But you have empathy, like you said. Once you teach that, you got a level-headed kid. Thank God, that's what you want, and you go from there. So on your part, you did a great job. Just from what you explained, you did a damn good job. You got to give yourself some credit.
Well, and you know, I got to give credit to his mom too. You know, she's been there every step of the way with him, in ways that I haven't been able to be. And for the most part, aside from his current school coach, I'm not going to call him out by name, although I really want to. I'll pull it back. I'll just pull it back. He's had some really good coaches that has really resonated with him, and that makes a big difference. You know,
It
that's
sure
somebody
does.
that he looks up to. These are people that he has looked up to, and they've taught him in a way that he's been able to absorb that information to develop him into who and what he is here and now. Right. So
For the good.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
To be a true ambassador for the game of baseball on any level.
Like what you're saying on this, your dream would be, right? Your son, he makes, let's say, makes it to the major leagues, right? But it doesn't end there. Your dream would be, like you said, be compassionate. Find these organizations, because I know you by now. You'd be like, hey, do what's right, right? And at that age, he wouldn't have to even be told that.
For
He would
sure.
already have the empathy and want to help other people or children or this and that. Because just making the majors, it's not over. Your
Right.
job's not over. Your job is to perform on and off the field. On and off. That's why they say on and off the field. And if you can do that, you become a Derek Jeter. A Jeter-like.
Yeah. Nope, I could not agree more, Vinny, and I can't think of a better way to put a bow on this conversation. This has been a good one here. I know we tried to keep this around an hour, but I mean, this was a conversation that,
Yeah,
we
had to
could
be.
keep. I mean, we could keep going if we could be honest with you, but
Yeah.
we do appreciate everybody that tuned in with us here live on the show tonight, and those who are checking us out on the RSS feed on demand on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. As a programming note, well, before we get to the programming note, if you haven't done so already, check out the Sports Reel podcast online store over at pfcsportsreel.printify.me for all the latest merchandise, all the latest merchandise of the Sports Reel podcast and the spin-off that is Ball Game. There's some stuff on there. There's going to be more stuff that is going to be added here this week. Baseball jerseys, I gave Vinny a little bit of a preview of. So we got some baseball jerseys, we got new hoodies, we got swimwear, some new hats that are going to be coming out, t-shirts, of course. So be sure to check that out, pfcsportsreel.printify.me. And as the programming note, for my wrestling fans, big show coming up on Saturday. First time for us here at the PFC Entertainment Network. I am taking the Fatal 4-Way on the road to Houghton Lake, Michigan this Saturday. We will be broadcasting live from the IWE's 12th anniversary show this Saturday at the Artesia Youth Park in Houghton Lake. They have a 5:30 p.m. bell time. I'm going on the air at 3:30 to serve as kind of a pregame show for this big event for Imperial Wrestling Entertainment. And you can catch all of the Fatal 4-Way show live as it happens right here on the PFC Entertainment Network on Facebook, YouTube, and of course, Riverside.fm. Before we get out of here this week, Vinny, any last minute thoughts or comments or anything like that?
I just want to congratulate you. I know this is a big show you're doing coming up on Saturday, like you said. I just want to wish you good luck because, this is a big deal and this is a first time. And I know you love wrestling. And I mean, this couldn't fit you any better, put it like that. It's a perfect match. And I'll be watching, and I encourage anyone that's watching this to tune in because you're not going to get a better guy than Jason. I'll tell you that right now, and I wish you all the luck. I'm not kissing ass. I'm just saying.
No.
I just, it's funny how you cross paths and everything, like you said, and I couldn't be luckier right now. I really do, and good luck to you, Jay, on that show. Really, I'll be watching.
I appreciate that, man. I really do. Yeah, I spent 30 years of my life in the wrestling business as a wrestler, as a promoter, and after my brother died, in 2020, like my heart for it was gone. So this is my first pro wrestling related public appearance since.
This is like the comeback.
Yeah.
Right, Jay?
Yeah, but in my world, I'm bringing my new world to my old world. You feel me? So it's kind of it's a weird feeling. It's a weird dynamic. I'm actually kind of documenting some of this for my flagship show, the Clouse to the Heart podcast. So,
Nice.
just kind of, I guess, if nothing else, from my own recollection, that I can look back on years from now and be like, yeah, I did that. That was pretty cool.
That's what I'm saying. Young at heart, sports does that. Brings out the boy in you. That's what I'm saying. You can't get any better than that, Jay. That's for damn sure.
You can take me out of the ring, but you can't take the ring out of me. You know what
exactly.
I mean? So,
yeah.
For sure.
1,000.
Well, we appreciate everybody who tuned in here with us, and be sure to check out the Sports Reel podcast live this Tuesday. I believe we're going on the air at 6:45 this week, so be sure to check that out with Tim Sheridan, Eric Mendal, and myself. I feel like we have a guest this week that's coming up. Addison, I believe, is going to be on the show. I hope I don't have that wrong, but that stands out. 2 guys, 1 pod, I believe. They're going to be on the show. And if I'm wrong, they're coming up in a week or 2. I know they're on the schedule. They're on the schedule. I know that. All right, with that, go out this week, be awesome to yourselves and to each other, and we'll see you next time right here on Ball Game, here on the PFC Entertainment Network.